Hey, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? It is Thursday, April 16th. I'm very excited about our guest who's here with us today. Um, Before I introduce our guest, and I think this is probably a good time to share this bit of information. Today's guest is actually an alum of Prairie View A&M University, one of a few alum that we have during the series. And I'm very excited to have him on for a number of reasons. One, because uh, again, he just completely brightened my day when I first started at Prairie View 3 years ago. But he really represents the amazing students that we have at that university who are about to step out into the world and do some amazing things. I would like to first of all share my congratulations and well wishes to our upcoming graduates who, as you know, because of the pandemic, will not have a graduation ceremony in May as planned, as anticipated, as prepared for, as prayed for, as worked towards because of the pandemic. I know schools all over the nation, all over the world are having to postpone their ceremonies, in order to keep people safe. And as we're figuring out what the summer and fall looks like, at Prairie View, it looks like, the May graduates will have the opportunity to celebrate with graduates either in August or later in the year. The Black News Channel, which is a new news network, celebrating, honoring, featuring, focusing on the African American community. Think like a Black version of CNN, if you will, just launched in January. And I've had the great pleasure of working with some of the people with this new network, and they are launching a celebratory sort of series of highlighting students who are graduating. And I'm going to play their commercial spot looking for graduates from HBCUs to celebrate in the month of May in lieu of their actual graduation. Of course, this doesn't replace graduation, but I think a little bit of celebration is awesome. So I'm going to play this real quick, and then we'll get into our interview. Let's see. And of course, it seems like it doesn't want to play this morning. Let's back it up this way. All right, I'll get a new link from the BNC and see if that one will work. We'll try that again in just a second. In the meantime, in between time, essentially, they have a link that you can send your photo and the details of your major, what degree you're graduating with, where you go to school. And during their news segment starting April 3rd, they will showcase you and celebrate you on the network. So we'll see if we can get a refreshed link for that and be able to play it later in this talk. Okay. Hey, Jordan.
What's going on, Dr. Vest?
Hey, man, I'm working on that doctor thing. I'm not there yet, but TDV, as you
well,
know,
we speak it. Well, we speak it into existence.
Hey, man, let's manifest the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Mr. Jordan Foster. He is a news reporter based in San Antonio, Texas right now, KENS TV. Kens. Just say what it is. I'm in here spelling things. Kens. And I first met Jordan in 2017, spring of 2017. And this young man had such great energy, constantly smiling, always helpful, wanting to know, how he can not only better himself, but the people around him. Very Jordan, Michael Jordan-esque of him. So it's by no mistake that his name happens to kind of reflect that kind of great leadership and just work ethic, tenacity. And so I'm happy to have him here today. He's been incredibly busy since he graduated in 2017, and I'm just extremely happy to have him and have him share his thoughts on how we're faring right now. Hey Jordan, tell us how you doing. Tell us who you are and what you do in the world.
So, one, I just want to say I'm happy to have this opportunity to be able to talk to everybody because, I mean, it really does feel just like yesterday, right? We were in class, talking, messing around, learning, right? Stressing. I know what it's like to be a senior, a graduating senior, about to graduate, feeling like you're unprepared or you don't know what direction you want to take. I feel it. So to be able to come back and kind of talk to everybody and drop some nuggets, I'm honored and I'm blessed. And you all remember this moment because in 2-3 years, this going to be you all on this side of the camera doing it as well, right? And it's important to try to pay it forward and the things that you continue to learn throughout your careers as you continue to do big things to not, put up everybody behind us up on game. But my name is Jordan Foster. I graduated in December 2017 from PV. I'm PV alum. I hit homecoming every year. I'm gonna be there every year. I love my city. I love my alma mater. If I could go back, do some more years, I would have. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way because we had to get into the career. But I'm from Dallas originally. After school, I graduated in, like I said, 2017, and I started in Beaumont in February 2018. That was my first job. This was my intro into the business. I was a news reporter there. And there, I had a lot of hiccups. It wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always nice. But, you get through adversity, right? You go through things, you learn things throughout the process, and you get better and you learn and you become a better person and a better journalist. After there, I did 2 years. I signed a 2-year contract. After that, left in January of this year and had a blessed to get an opportunity and an offer to come to San Antonio, which is a huge jump from where I was previously. And, the competition is that much better. Things are that much more intense. It gets a little easier, right? Because you have more resources, more connections, you have more work, but there's more people there around you to help. But the level of, I guess, professionalism is way higher, and so you definitely have to step up to the bar. How I'm doing? Well, times are crazy. Times are crazy. Make no mistake. We are living in interesting times nowadays. And we are blessed to be in this generation now, to be on this end of it, right? Because this isn't the first pandemic and this won't be the last. But we're blessed to have technology be this advanced, right? So where we're still able to connect with one another like this. We're still able to work from home and life still goes as normal versus what people were up against 60 years ago. So, it's about counting your blessings every day. As far as, how I am, I'm sick of talking about Corona. But it's not going away anytime soon. And as journalists, I know I heard a few people, which I was actually surprised to hear a few people wanting to be news reporters, news anchors. We're living in the times now where the need for information, the need for accurate information is more important now than ever before, right? Or I'm not going to even say ever before, but you can see how important accurate information is. And it takes time.
That's the key, accurate information. Yeah,
exactly. And it takes these times to really understand, people tend to, especially our generation, right, tends not to watch the news or keep up with current events or what's going on. But things like this show you how important it is, one, to be connected and to know what's going on. And then two, how important our jobs is. Because I compare it to, for instance, like a service industry. You don't feel like driving, you call an Uber. You don't feel like cooking, you go to dinner, go get some food, and you have a chef cook for you. Well, people don't have the time every day, right, to attend a city council meeting at 2 o'clock on a Thursday. People don't have the ability to walk up to the mayor or city council members and say, hey, what are you doing for my family? My sons, my daughters, my moms, my uncles. What are you doing to help us? We are going through this, right? So it's our jobs as journalists to be that liaison to provide that information for the public. And in the days now where there's so much misinformation, from the White House to Facebook, it's important to know when and how and where to go to get good, accurate information on what's going on. So how it's affecting my job, I mean, we're working from home, of course, but being a news reporter, you don't really spend much time in the newsroom, right? You go, if you say I'm my typical day, right? I'm a dayside reporter, so I go in. We have a 9:30 pitch meeting every morning. You go in, you pitch your ideas. We talk about what everybody's going to do. Then we assign, okay, this is what you're going to do today. This is what you're going to do. This will show. And after that, it's free range. You go, you do your story, and typically you don't have to come back to the station because of we typically can shoot our own stuff, or if we go out with a photographer, we get that. We have laptops where we can edit. We have Wi-Fi capability, hotspots. We can send our stuff back and we transfer. So essentially, we don't have to be in the station to work. So it hasn't really affected work much for me. I mean, it's made things busier. But other than that, I'm working at the house, and I love it personally. I love being in the house. So I don't mind it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that space as you were graduating from Prairie View, and you can feel that the excitement of graduation coming up, but you can also feel that safety net starting to kind of get smaller and smaller because it's time to go out and procure work. Tell us about that time period just as you were, talk to our seniors and then our late semester juniors who are on the precipice of that same place.
Well, it's different for everybody, right? I know that many of you heard from Tia earlier this week, who had a totally different experience than what I had, coming out of school. I was more fortunate and more blessed to have a few offers coming out of school. So I always say, coming out of school, you're either stressing for two reasons. You're either on the side of, hey, I have 2, 3, 4 offers, and I don't know which one is the best opportunity for me. Which one is the right? I want to make the right choice. I don't know which choice is the right one. And so you're like, oh my God, like, where do I go? I don't want to make the wrong decision because this affects the rest of my life. Or you're on the other end where it's like, okay, I'm about to graduate. I don't have any offers. What am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? Am I going to make it? Should I do this? And I say to everybody, no matter which side of the fence you own in that case, it's still possible. Like, your time is going to happen when it's supposed to happen. God makes no mistakes. First and foremost, what's meant for you is meant for you. What you're supposed to be doing is what you're supposed to be doing in life. Ultimately it's about preparation. It's about preparation.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of where I'll go into kind of my 3 things that if you all are listening, 3 things that I feel like, if you all don't get anything else out of this presentation, these are 3 things you need to write down, and these are 3 things you need, right, essentially, before you graduate. If you don't necessarily have them, it's not the end of the world. You still got time. The semester isn't over. Even after you graduate, you can still be reaching out. You can still be doing these things. But the first thing I wrote, internships. So important, so important. And I didn't realize how important internships was until I did my first one. Actually, my first one was the spring semester when I met TDV in 2017. And that was right before I graduated. And I essentially did that because we needed an internship to graduate. And I didn't realize how unprepared I was until I interned it was at ABC 13 in Houston. And I remember we would talk about it all the time, right? I didn't understand what it was that we needed to do as industry professionals, what it was like every day being a news reporter, being in the environment, being in the newsroom, knowing how to move, knowing what I needed to graduate. I honestly got all of that in that one internship at ABC. And that made me realize how far behind I was. And then that fueled me to want to be even better and to understand, okay, I'm behind the curve because I'm interning with other people who have had under internships. They're like, oh yeah, I was in San Antonio. Yeah, I have a reel. And I'm like, a reel? Like, what's that? You know, and it's like, I didn't even know that, you know, going into my graduate senior year, that what a reel was. And that is a key component to what you need to even get anywhere, right? It's like our version of a resume, you know, paper. It's a resume tape, essentially. So an internship, and I said that companies, they don't want projects, they want professionals. When you graduate, they don't want to have to baby you and walk you through everything. They want you to know. I mean, you don't have to be the best. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to. They understand you're not going to be great at what you do. Of course, you're not going to be great. It's your first market. You're going to suck. It's okay. But they want to know at least you got the basics. You got the basics. You can write. You can edit video. You can talk, right? You can talk. That's what's important in our industry. Those are the three main components that you need to know how to do to even get in. And they want to know, at least for the most part, that you can do that before even thinking of it, right? And to them, if you don't have any internships in a newsroom, if you haven't seen what it's like to be an everyday reporter or anchor or whatever, they don't, like I said, necessarily they're not going to be keen on bringing you in. So internships are so important. If you can get an internship, I mean, do as many as you can. Just kind of tell you my personal story. I didn't have an internship with the first semester of my senior year, that spring. I graduated in December. By the time I graduated, I had 4. And that was just because I realized how important it was. And I'm like, oh shoot, well, I need experience. Okay, well, I think I did 1 that semester. I locked in 2 for the summer. And then I did another TV. It was the summer I did a radio one, which, I mean, it was like AM radio. It wasn't even nothing I wanted to do, but I wanted it, I wanted it on my resume, right? It looks good. And then you still get that experience. You still get that connection, that network, right? And to this day, a lot of those people I still, communicate and keep up with. And then, I had my final internship in College Station, which was at a station out there. So that's one of the most important things, right? Internships. Something else that I wrote down that you need before you graduate: a mentor. You need a mentor, and that's just as important as an internship. And in many of these cases, when you do these internships, you're going to meet people, you're going to gravitate towards people. People are going to help you and end up, kind of becoming your mentors. So that's one way you can get a mentor. Another way is just reaching out to people, right? I know a lot of you follow, your media professionals that you like or care about, whether it be ESPN, you might have your, certain analysts or people that you like watching. If it's news, I'm sure you have certain news reporters and anchors that you like watching. If it's entertainment news, you have certain people that you like watching. Hit these people up. We're in you got to understand, we're in a journalism communication industry. So for you not to be comfortable with communicating or allowing communication, because right, it's never comfortable in the beginning, but you allowing that barrier to stop you from potentially getting some advice or getting some help, isn't it doesn't help you in the long run, right? We are supposed to be out here talking and connecting and being with these people. And a lot of these people, you got to understand, if you're afraid to reach out, there's probably hundreds of other people who are afraid to reach out. So you may think their DMs are flooding or people are, they're busy, this and this, and in many cases they may be busy, but shoot them a DM, shoot them an email. If they don't answer, give it a few times, give it a few weeks, shoot them another one. Hey, just following up, right? You all are in a unique position right now because you all are students. As a student, people are more inclined to help, right? Versus me reaching out and them looking at me as a colleague, potential competition. You all are in a unique position where it's like, okay, oh, I remember what it was like to be in your shoes. Let me help this person out, or let me do this. Give them gems or take them under my wing to help as much as I can. And 2 things I want to say about that. One, reach out to the big wigs. Of course, you have the big name people, this and this. Reach out to them, of course, but also look at the local people. Look at people who may not be as big, who may be in the industry, who may not who may be up and coming, right? Someone who may be in their first market, their second market, because I guarantee you they'll be more inclined to reach back out or respond to that message than Stephen A. Smith, right? Who probably gets thousands of messages every day. That doesn't mean you don't throw your name in the running, but be realistic and understand that there's different level of things, and 9 times out of 10 we all go through the same struggles. We all understand what it's like, especially if you can talk to someone who's in their first market or second market or in the beginning of their career, who can really tailor something towards what times are like now versus Stephen A. If you were to ask him what it was like, it's probably something totally different, right? Because his time was a few years ago. So keep that in mind. And then 2, this is something I tell people that I help all the time. If you don't hear back, don't be mad. Don't be upset. Don't beat us up if we don't necessarily respond to the message or whatever. Like I tell people with me, if I say I'm gonna do something, if you send me something, I say I'm gonna look at it tomorrow at 3, and you don't hear from me, call me, text me, because my mind is everywhere, right? And you got to understand, we have so much on our plates, because being a journalist is a 24-hour job. Like it really is, because you have to know what's going on in the world. You have to know what's going on in your community, your city. You have to be on top of your game when it comes to story ideas, pitches, because every day they want to hear. They don't care. Every day they want 2 to 3 new pitches. They want 2 to 3 new stories. So you have to be, and they don't want just ideas in many of these cases. They want things. Okay, I got this set up for 11. If we want to do this, I got this set up for 12. So, and then on top of that, social media. I mean, social media is so important in what we do that we have to be actively on social media. Posting on Instagram, posting on Twitter, posting on Facebook. So it's literally a 24-hour job, and it's exhausting. So in many cases, I may get a text message, or I may say I'm gonna do something at 3, and then tomorrow at 3 I'm swamped, or I get called in, or there's breaking news, or there's a White House briefing I may be watching, right? And I may just slip my mind. So it's about following up and not necessarily being annoying or nagging, but just saying, hey, in a nice way. Hey, I reached out, a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if you saw that message, but hey, I'm just wanting to reach out again. I'm so-and-so, graduating here this year. Anything that you can give, or any way that you can maybe help, or any advice you can give me, et cetera, would be helpful. So keep that in mind. And then the third thing that you need is a drive, and thick skin. And I say that because, and I'm sure Tia talked about it a little bit, right? Coming out of school, right? PV, we were taught a lot of scholastic things, right? The more kind of research paper driven things, And me personally, I didn't really gravitate towards that. Like, I mean, we went through the classes, but I didn't want to be a philosopher. I didn't want to be a researcher. I didn't want to do that, right? That wasn't really my flex. But then when I found out, and so because of that, I used to think I don't like writing, you know what I'm saying? But then once I did the internship at ABC, and they were like, oh, and I think I wrote something, and they were like, no, write like you talk. I'm like, write like I talk, I can do that. I can, that's easy. So it's understanding, where you are, what you need to get, and then being okay, one, when you hear no, because you're going to hear no a lot. This is a very subjective industry. I can send my first, when I sent my first reel out, I can send it to one news director, and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't like anything about this reel. I didn't like your presence on camera. I don't like your writing. I don't think you speak well. I don't think you edit well, whatever. And I can send that same tape to another news director in another market, and they say, oh my gosh, I love it. When can we fly you out? When can we bring you in? Can we talk? And that just shows you how subjective the business is, right? We're all humans. We all are wired differently. We think differently. So be okay and be comfortable with hearing no, and getting feedback, and knowing that, okay, it's not the end of the world. If I hear no, that's cool. I'm just gonna send it to somebody else. I'm just gonna keep applying. And then understanding that in some of these cases you may be not as prepared as other people, right? Coming out of school, or I can say, before that internship, I wasn't as prepared as, my other counterparts who may have been at other schools or whatever. But I didn't let that stop me, right? Because companies, they don't care. They don't care that, y'all didn't have a constant newscast, every day. that y'all were doing at y'all schools. They don't care. They want to know what can you do? How do you benefit me? So if there is something that you feel like you don't have, or something that you feel like you're lacking in, you have to take it up on yourself to get that information. You're that much behind, so that means you got to work that much harder. That's the way I saw it. I was like, man, this is my first internship, and I'm gonna graduate with it. I gotta be that much better. I gotta make sure I work that much harder in this internship to make up for the other semesters and the other years that I missed, that I could have been using to prepare. So for all my graduating seniors and seniors who are about to go into their last semester, it's not the end of the world if you feel like you're not prepared, but it's just that much more work you're going to have to do, and it's up to you to take that initiative and say, okay, well, I'm not going to let the fact that I don't have this or I don't know this stop me from getting to where I'm trying to go or getting what I need. Because at the end of the day, when I graduate, and if I don't have it, I don't have it, and it's up to you to get it, right? So I think that's all I wanted to say, I guess, if you want to chime
Man,
in or anything, but I hope that
let
helps
me
somebody.
tell you something. I need everybody to hear me when I say the things that Jordan has communicated today. You know, so about a year and a half ago, we launched PVAMU TV to basically create the opportunities that Jordan communicated were not available to him as readily when he was a student, right? So we launched PVAMU TV, and we have the Panther News Network, which is our news show that we do 3 days a week, and we had Panther Sports Zone, which is our ESPN-esque sports center type show that we do to report sports news, and a few other shows. PV Roundtable Talk, which is very much like The View, where it's like a panel of students talking about issues of the day and so forth, and a handful of shows. And Jordan called me at 10:30 p.m. one night, about a year ago. It was about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
about a year ago, because he had just watched some of our content, and he was hyped. He was like, "Oh, TDV," and I saw his number flash up on my phone. I remember I was so tired that day. I remember that night so clearly, Jordan, because I nearly didn't answer the phone because I was like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed. And this young man, what do he want? But then I thought, Jordan is calling me at 10:30 at night. It really must be something. So I answered the call, and we talked for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. No, I didn't talk. He talked for an hour and a half, and he pretty much communicated everything that he communicated just now. And he said, I saw in PVAMU TV tonight what I did not experience, what I did not have. Please tell your students this, and this. They need to get an internship. They need to create a reel. They need to mentor. They need to get a mentor. They need to network. They need to seek out conferences. I saw, so and so on the news desk. She did a great job. Just tell her to look up a little bit more. And he was so lit on fire. Not so much with the work, but with his care for his fellow Panthers. And I laid in bed for about an hour and a half and received the lecture that he gave just now. And so, one, his message is consistent, if nothing else, and that he is drilling a message. And this is right to my seniors. This is to my freshmen that's in this classroom right now. Being prepared and getting what you need by any means necessary is key. We're a growing program. And prior to myself and Dr. Derek Blackwell and Professor Tony Clomax and some of the faculty that's a little bit newer, our program was more research based. We had a strong research communication program, but didn't have as much production or setting up our students for careers in mass comm. we have some great standout graduates who did graduate prior to 2017, or there was this awesome class that came out in 2012. Like I'm still meeting people. Troy Washington reached out to me this morning. She graduated in 2012 and is an Emmy nominated news anchor in Indianapolis. She reached me this morning and we're having the same conversation of what you guys did not have, and where you what resources weren't available to you then, you had to make do, but the students now like grab it with both hands and get what you need to be successful as you leave Prairie View. Before we go into our Q&A, BNC resent me. They just sent me the new link because they are watching the Black News channel. They are watching, but I'm not going to play that yet. What I am going to play right now is a snippet from Jordan's reel that I have queued up, and I want you to see
which reel? Which reel is it? The first
one you posted. The one you posted about 4 months ago.
Okay, so my most recent. Okay, I didn't know.
The most recent one. Yeah,
I didn't know
I
if you
did
go
have
to
some
the archive.
older. Yeah, I had some older clips that I said, oh, I got to show that. But no, when I found the one that you just recently posted, I was like, this is what he wants us to see. So let me go ahead and.
This is, and before you just push play, I do want to say, if the students get a chance to go to YouTube and type in Jordan Foster reel, and take a look at my first reel, my first one that I did out of school. I want you all to see the progression, right? To see what changed, what's different, and to think, right? This is only 2 years. So it just shows you how much can be done and accomplished in 2 years, right? If I was able to do this 2 years, now that you're getting the gyms and have even more resources to be even better, your reel can look even better coming out of school and even better 2 years later. You know what I'm saying? So I really want them to understand that, and I try to be as transparent as possible to let people know, like, look, it ain't always sunshine and rainbows. It's not gonna always be polished and nice, but growth is going to happen, right? Growth is inevitable if you put in the hard work.
Let's start off with this thumbnail, for instance. I mean, even this look, you are sharp. It's a clean, wonderful photo of you. We got some good key light over here on the left side of your face, some good fill light. I mean, the man is immaculately dressed. His contact information, on the screen, nice and clear. I mean, just from the gate, anyone looking for a professional news reporter will instantly see someone camera ready from the thumbnail. And I just had a conversation about, the power of a strong thumbnail yesterday, as a matter of fact. So take a look at this. This is really a master class. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Let's see what happens.
That's going towards Highway 69. That's the gas station we've been at for the last few hours, and they are actually getting ready to close soon. And last we heard from Antoinette and her family, they still hadn't decided.
The audio is kind of low, TDV. You might check and see if your computer audio is on.
The audio is on. It's on YouTube. I have it all the way up.
Mr. Kelly says what makes the reopening that much more special this time around, the redevelopment project that's coming right across the street. Your drive home could be a little difficult. Now, I want to go ahead and show you all what it looks like out here right now. After dealing with pothole problems in Port Arthur, many motorists are finding themselves in the one place they don't want to be in, the tire shop. I know they say it's good luck if it rains on your wedding, but what about a tropical storm? I'm just going to dive in. Dive in, babe. Ooh! Ooh! Ooh!
Jordan, you're going to bring some back for us here, right?
Kelsey, I don't think so. Myself, but I just want to show you the line real quick. I want to show you the line of people that's here.
I don't know what we're going to do at this point, if we, going to evacuate or if we're going to stay.
Antoinette Charles was here with her 2 children when Barry came barreling down Iberia Parish.
It was real scary because from a house this big, like, it started rocking, and the kids was like, what's happening?
And even though Tropical Storm Barry has now passed through Louisiana, people who live here are left to deal with the after effects.
Within a matter of hours or two, like, all this water just rushed in.
Out of all the floods that we had, it never did this much raining before. The storm surge has left her house surrounded by water, but high waters aren't the only thing people out here are battling. Power in the area has been out since Saturday, and they say it could be out as long as Wednesday.
I really can't say what's going to happen. You know, maybe we have to get on the road and just head that way. I really don't know what we're going to do.
But the one thing people who live here do know is that next time a storm comes, they won't be around to see it. I'm getting out of here. I'm gonna go.
No, we not staying. Next time, we not staying. We're gonna prepare to leave next time. But right now, we kind of like stuck in a situation, you know?
On a day that usually brings families together, an explosion at a Port Neches refinery plant forced many who lived nearby to leave from their homes.
Just get jolted out of bed like that. It didn't take long to realize once we looked and saw the fireball, it's pretty obvious what had happened.
It felt like someone hit my building. That's how hard. Like it shook everything.
DeQuisha Simpson lives in Port Arthur. She's just inside that 4-mile mandatory evacuation zone. Her family of 7 spending Thanksgiving in an emergency shelter at Ford Park, waiting for the go-ahead to return home.
We honestly don't know. We're waiting to hear back to see like if it's gonna get worse or is it getting better. So it's just a waiting game. Just waiting to see when we can go back home.
And then there are others like Mike Beatty who are just looking for a hot meal. It took him hours to find a restaurant without a wait. He found an open seat at this IHOP off I-10 in Beaumont.
I came into IHOP expecting just to eat breakfast food and saw that they had turkey and dressing on the menu, and we thought, what the heck is Thanksgiving? We'll try it. And it was actually really good.
We get a lot of flood and everything in the water, but I've never seen this. So.
50,000 families forced from their homes left scrambling to salvage the holiday. But still, they're finding a reason to be thankful.
You really don't have a choice. You know, you just, it is what it is. You take it as it comes and work through the problem. And it's just what we've always done.
I'm gonna put the link for the reel in the YouTube link, and I'll also share that link with our students. That was just halfway through, y'all. I pretty much just stopped it halfway through because I wanted to provide some time for Jordan to take some questions. So why don't you guys open up your mics, open up your cameras, turn your cameras on. I keep getting notes and messages from other people watching on YouTube because they can't, unless your camera is open, they don't see you. We just see you here in the Zoom. And so it just looks like, oh, only one person showed up to talk to Jordan or one person showed up to talk to whomever. So turn your cameras on and turn your mics on. One at a time on your mics, though, to ask your questions for Jordan. Go for it.
Hi, Jordan. Again,
Hey.
my name is Veneria Bones, and I would just like to say that I am so grateful to talk to you. I remember actually being in Beaumont and watching you, and I was like, he's from PV. He graduated from PV, so being able to see someone who did that, I can walk in your footsteps. And my question for you is, how was your transition from your unpaid internship to your actual first job?
Transition as far as what? I want to make sure that I'm being specific to your question.
As far as just being in your first job, and I know with journalism you have to take it serious from day one, but what was different from not being paid to being paid? What was the
Well, let me tell you this. Well, let me say this. It depends on the internship. My internship in ABC was paid.
Okay.
And my internship that I did in College Station, which is something I want to say too, by the way, for PV students, if you're looking for internships, look in Houston at those stations, and also look in College Station. College Station is closer than Houston is, and they have 2 stations out there, I believe, that you can do internships to at as well. But I mean, I don't think unpaid, paid really made a difference. What the difference was that the difference was that when I started my job versus internships, the training wheels came off. You know, I mean, yeah, they may have trained me for a week, but after that, it was like, all right, go do this story. We need a VOSOP for 4. We need an anchor live VOSOP for 5, and we need your package for 6. You know, and so it's just you have to learn what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Time management, honestly, for me was probably one of the main things that I had to learn early on, because deadlines. The one thing for all my anchors, news reporters, whether or not you want to do entertainment, ESPN, news, whatever, hip hop, deadlines matter, because you got to understand, every day at 6 o'clock, the news is going to come on. If your story is not in there, that's a problem, right? If your story is not done by 6, if they say you're in the 6 o'clock show and your story is not in, that's a minute and a half, a minute 15, a minute and a half of black space, or of space that they're going to have to try to pull some other content and do this, or, you know what I'm saying, stress to try to get that time in, right? They call it slot, making slot. That is the most important thing you can do, especially as a journalist, right? That's one thing that if you do consistently, right? Say you miss slot consistently, you will get fired. You know, there isn't many things you can do consistently to get fired, but that, right? Because they want to know that they can depend. If they say we need this by 5, it needs to be in by 5. So I guess for me, you know, it comes with time, you know, so it was time management. It was trying to understand, okay, I need to try to schedule my interviews between this window gap. I want to try to have my packages written by at least 2. So that way it's written by 2, I can get it because they have to look at it, right? They have to look at it, approve it, so I can get it approved. That gives me time to go and track it. That gives me time to edit it, and then I'm not rushing, right? So understanding what you're good at and what you're not good at, what you may be fast in and what you may not be fast in. I know starting off, you know, it used to take me 2 hours, 2.5 hours to write a package, to write a story. Yesterday, I wrote a package in like 35 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But that just comes with times, right? You're not gonna hop out the gate, you know, doing everything, you know, quick, right? You got to learn how to do it and do it correctly. So time management was for me the one of the hardest transitions. So hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. Who else in there? We have a class of about 14, 15 people. Hey, Tatiana.
Hey guys. Hey Jordan. I had a
What's going on, Tati?
question.
What's up?
First, how are you? You're doing good?
Good. Busy like always.
Blessed?
But you know,
Okay.
blessed. Amen.
I actually had a question. Sorry, my camera's all weird, but you had answered this question for me, and I don't know if you already addressed it, but after getting an internship, it's basically like you get your seat at the table almost. How do you stand out, and how do you keep your seat and be a useful intern once you get your internship? Because it is overwhelming and it's easy to kind of just like fall to the wayside and just do your work. So how would you say, like, once people get their internships, how would you say they can stand out throughout the other interns?
Listen, and I'm glad you asked that question, because like you said, I remember when you reached out. Tatiana is actually one of the people who reached out to me for help and asking questions. And I tried to get back, and I had to tell her the same thing. If I don't get back with you quickly, you know, let me know. But that's a great question. Because getting the internship, securing the internship is the first step, right? That's just the first step. Once you get there, they're not going to babysit you. You know, that's like half full-time job, right? They're not going to babysit you. You're going to go in, they're going to tell you what your expectations are, what they may want you to do. But if you go into that internship every day and sit down in the corner and be on your phone, they're going to let you do that. They're not gonna baby you. They're not gonna hold your hand and say, look, come do this. It's not like school, right? Hey, did you do your work? Did you do your paper? That's not gonna happen. So you need to stand out, right? Be engaging, be understanding, and seek help, seek feedback. Like TDV said, when I was at PV, that was the main thing that I used to always do. Hey, what can I do better? I used to talk, you know, to everybody. Same thing in the internship. I got to the internship and used to speak and smile and to everybody. Hey, how you doing? How's your day going? Hey, I'm Jordan. I just started. I go to PV. This is what I want to do. That's how you stand out, because you got to understand, these people, they get, you know, new internships every semester. I mean, new interns every semester, right? Do you think they remember everybody that goes through those doors? They don't. So, but who they do remember are the people who were engaging, the people who, you know, took initiative. I used to go and, you know, I would see a reporter in the newsroom say, hey, you know, I used to go up to Are you about to go out? Can I go with you? You know, okay. And then I used to go and not only go to see, but I would try to help. What can I do to help? Do you need help with this? Can I go here? Can I help with this? Can I do this? What can I, you know what I'm saying? To also be useful and helpful in the process, and not just a liability, right? Not just be there for the ride or just be there to see, right? They want to see people who are really engaged and who are driven and who wants to learn and wants feedback. I used to, and I'll say this real quick to answer her question. I remember my first package that I wrote, and it's actually, and if anybody, and I'll try to find all my old work and post it somewhere. But it was a package I wrote. Bun B came to PV, and I basically talked with people about him coming. And I remember I wrote that story, and I'll remember like it was yesterday. I wrote the story. It was my first package I had ever written in my life. Didn't know what I was doing. Wrote it. I made like 6 or 7 or 8 copies, and I put it on anchors' desk, news anchors and reporters' desk. The people who I had been talking to, I used to go and I put it on their desk, and under it, you know, I put a note. Hey, this is my package. You know, when you get a chance, read it. You know, critique it and let me know. You know what you think. And I'll never forget one of my mentors actually to this day, Chauncey Glover at ABC. He was out on the store. He came back. He saw it. He read it. He came to. I was under the assignment desk. He came up to the assignment desk. He looked at it and he was like, "No." And he took it and he ripped it up in my face. He took it and ripped it in my face and said,
Wow.
"No, this is not what you do. No." But I mean, of course he was smiling, you know, but it was just, you know, but it was a symbolism, right? Like, no, this is not it. And we went through, he broke it down like, okay, this is how you want to look at it. This is how a package should be written. This is what you want to think about next time when it comes to writing a package, right? But if I didn't take the initiative and do that, or to even write a story, I wouldn't have gotten that feedback. And if I didn't get that feedback, I wouldn't have known what to do better for the next time. So it's things like that. Even to this day, I'm cool with all my people from ABC, you know, because I still stay in contact with them, because I was speaking, and it was more than just an internship, right? It was really getting in and learning. And a lot of these people in these internships, like I said, will be your mentors, will be your colleagues eventually, right? And so to be able to get those connections, you know, and while you're there is more important than anything else. Sorry that was so long, but
No,
yeah,
man, not long at all. So you're standing there. He's tearing it up in your face. You put everything you had, like you just knew I'm finished. I did this thing. It's done. It's ready to go out into the world. And he's tearing it up. Like, what was happening in that moment though for you? I know you've had some distance behind it and, you know, from it, and you're able to see the lesson in it. But in that moment, when you're having your heart torn in your face, what were you feeling?
I mean, I was looking just like I look now. I probably will always look the same way when we talk about it, because it's just so surreal, right? But you have to understand, man, in this industry, you have to have thick skin, and you have to be receptive to criticism and feedback. And you can't go and say, "Hey, I want feedback," and not be prepared for what you're going to get, because
Sure.
you don't know, right? And some people are more tougher, and some people aren't tougher, right? When we go to these conferences like NABJ conference, and you sit down and show, you know, these news directors, these scouts, talent agents and stuff, you're real, you have to be prepared for somebody to say you suck mentally, right? Because some people are just that blunt. You know, some people will say, "I don't like your look, I don't like your hair, I don't like the way you sound." Like, you have to be receptive to getting all of that and saying, "Okay, how can I take that and how can I better myself for next time?" You know, and not only taking it and saying, "Okay, I suck, that's it," but saying, "Okay, I suck. What can I do better? How can I be better? What can I do differently?" Right? It's taking the feedback and then knowing what you need to do to apply it to your, you know, what you're doing to be even better, right? Because you don't want to look back and you're still the same reporter, the same journalist, the same student you was a year ago, because you didn't have any growth, right? So, you know, basically I would say, don't seek feedback if you're not ready to hear the worst.
Yeah.
Gina, I sent that same script to Gina Gaston, man, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't give her another script after that, because I knew Chauncey was joking and he was just trying to move a point. But Miss Gaston, she's just so intense, man. She's just so professional and
Yeah.
intense. So she was she was going through it and she was like, "What? Well, I get you put that, but what was the point? I'm not understanding the purpose of this." So it really, right? You have to be prepared to
Yeah.
get that, to have your heart torn, but to understand, right, it's for a better purpose, to know that you're not going to be this bad every time. You're going to get better, right? But
Yeah.
you need this feedback, this criticism to be even better. Or especially if you hear something that, for me, if I hear something that I don't like or that I feel like, because you have people who will be mean and nasty just cause, right? If I hear that, if I feel like somebody is coming at me, giving me feedback or criticism with bad intentions, I take that and I turn that and fuel that into energy to when I say, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna go that much harder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
Something
you don't like,
use. Yeah.
exactly. Oh, you don't like the way I look? Well, I'm gonna show you that I'm gonna look the same way. I'm gonna polish myself up, but I'm gonna look the same way, and I'm still gonna make it. And it's all good. I appreciate the feedback, but thanks, but no thanks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just taking that and putting that energy into a way that you can use it to be productive, right?
So when y'all hear me fussing at y'all, because I'm always somewhere fussing at people. Some people call me TDV, some call me Mama T, and I'm like, hey, I don't know, I ain't nobody's mama, but I'll get on your butt and make sure you get your work done and push for the best. But yeah, it's when you encounter people who are willing to critique you and criticize you or criticize your work, not you, because when we're looking at your work, it really isn't about you. It's really about getting the best results out of your potential. But yeah, it's hard to be on the other side of that. I think Miss Milan has a question for us. Hey, hun.
Hello, TDV. How are you?
I'm great, sis. How you doing?
I'm good. Adjusting to getting back home,
Yeah.
So are you in Houston?
You got a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, Jordan, I had a quick question. I had a few. At what age did you know you wanted to be a news reporter?
So that's kind of a weird question. I guess, well, I'm gonna give it in two parts. It kind of happened. Well, one, I just want to say, I feel like, in some aspects I wasn't prepared, because from certain resources I didn't get, I feel like I didn't get. But I want to shout out PV too, and I don't want to make it seem like it's all bad, because it's not. I want to shout out PV because it's because of the student radio station, PV, the student TV station at the time, and I'm not sure if it's still up, but PV, TV or whatever, that made me realize, wait a minute, because when I first realized I wanted to get in the industry, I thought I wanted to do sports. That's what I'm starting off by saying. I thought I wanted to do sports. I thought I wanted to be the next Stephen A. Yeah, I came in. I was a marketing major. I think I realized I took a business class and was like, yeah, this ain't for me. And then I changed over to health and human performance because I thought I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to be tied to sports. And then I realized that wasn't for me. And then I saw a flyer that said, oh, hey, students radio station starting up a radio show, this and this, or starting up a radio show, come with ideas. So I went and said, hey, I was listening, we were talking about it. I remember it was Mr. West. And I think he in another department, but Mr. West, man, shout out to Mr. West if he out there.
Yeah, he's still at campus. Yep. He's in a different department now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we was there. They pitched, hey, we got this ready to go. If anybody has ideas with show ideas, let me know. And I was like, well, what if we did like a student sports talk station? And so they were like, oh yeah, let's do it. Basically, they were like, let's do it. We have a guy, Cam, who already does something on the radio side of it. We'll connect the two of y'all and y'all can get up and do the radio thing. So me and him started doing a whole radio sports talk show, talking about sports or whatever. And then that's when I realized, oh shoot, I can get paid for talking about sports. Like I used to talk about sports in high school all the time. I used to argue it, all the time in high school. I can get paid to do this. And then during that process, that's when another flyer came up. Hey, we're starting a TV station. So I went to the meeting. It was like, hey, we already got a sports show. Why don't we just take what we're doing on the hour sports radio talk show and incorporate it into a 30-minute talk show on the TV? So we started doing that. And that's when I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the industry I want to be in. This is what I can see myself doing every day. News happened for me, and this is gonna sound funny. News, I realized I wanted to do news during my internship at ABC 13, which was the semester, the semester before I graduated. And I realized that because one of the internship, which is why I say it is important, why internships are important, because I realized what news was, what it was like to be in a newsroom, what it was like to be a reporter every day, go out and see it, right? And then I'll never forget one day, Miss Lawson, Miss Melanie Lawson at ABC. She, I used to talk to her all the time. You know, hey, Miss Lawson, how you doing? I call her Mama Lawson now. One day she pulled me to the side and she was like, this kind of in the beginning. She asked me, she was like, what do you want to do? You know, like, what do you want to do, girl? You know, and I was like, you know, I want to do sports. I want to be the next Stephen A. This and this, blah blah blah. And she asked me, she was straight up. She was like, let me ask you something. She was like, why is it that every time that like the brothers that want to get into TV, every time they want to get into TV, they want to do sports? She was like, we need more of y'all in the newsroom. So she was like, I understand you want to do sports, but I really want you to take this opportunity to be in a newsroom and really, you know, accept it and really embrace it and see if it's something that you want to do. And I fell in love with news. And then I realized, right, and it's just a quick stat for y'all. For every, I don't know if there's anybody out there who want to do sports, but for every one sports reporter job out there, that's job opening, right? For every one sports reporter job opening, one sports anchor job opening, there's probably 15, 20 other news reporter job openings, right? So sports was a shrinking industry and it's already hard to get into, right? So she said, you know, if she brought that to my attention. So she was like, if sports is something you truly want to do, you can always hop in on the news end of it, and then once you need to get your foot in the door, right? Get your foot in the door, do news. You can still do, you know, you could be a news reporter and pitch sports stories sometime, and then transition once you get that experience over into sports if that's what you want to do. And it's crazy because I actually had the opportunity when I was in Beaumont to possibly go make that transition, which I ultimately decided, okay, you know, I was able to do sports for a little bit. It was cool. I loved it, but the news end is what I wanted to do more of. And it was strictly through my internship, right? At ABC, I realized I love news, right? I love the craziness. I love the get up and go, the breaking news aspect, you know, the anxiety, the excitement that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, man, for all my seniors, if you feel like it's too late, like, no, it's not too late. I promise you, you're gonna have to do more work. I mean, yeah, you have to do a lot more work. You have to work a lot harder, yeah, but it's not too late. Yeah. If you got the passion, if you got the skills, if you got the talent, if you got the drive, right? That's all they want to see. They want to see, you know, these, especially in your first mark, they know you're not going to be good. But if they see you and they're like, all right, this person is hungry, this person wants to be successful, this person is going to want to learn, is going to seek feedback and do what they got to do to understand and to learn, that is what they want. They want somebody that they can, you know, teach and kind of give, you know, tidbits or kind of, you know, mold right into the type of reporter they need to be. So
awesome.
That's kind of how I got my start in it.
Wow, that's dope.
Great question.
A couple more. I have two more.
You got one more. Yeah, yeah, because we were supposed to go half hour and we're actually at an hour now, so we're gonna have to wrap it up, and I still have a little bit more we have to do. So you got one more question.
All right. What does a typical day look like now that the coronavirus has spread everywhere? Like in terms of like your job position?
So for me, you know, it changes every day. And that's one thing that I love about my job. You know, that's why I got into it, because if I had to sit, you know, personally behind in front of a computer all day in a cubicle, I would lose my mind, right? As a reporter, every day is different. Every story is different. You're on a new part of the city, a new part of town, meet new people telling new stories. I can honestly say through 2.5 years I've been doing this, no day has been the same. So for me, a typical day, I mean, structure-wise, you know, like I said, you go to the meeting at 9:30, you know, you pitch your stories. Now with Corona, it's a little different because the stories, you know, versus, you know, the stories you want to tell versus the stories we need to tell, you can kind of clash on that end. Because like yesterday, for instance, the last 2 days, I pitched stories that I really wanted to do that were like happy, feel-good stories. But for instance, there was a city council meeting on what day was that? Monday, a special city council meeting that they were like, well, we need a reporter there because we need to know what the new updates are on the coronavirus. What are they doing to prepare? Prepare. What are the new updates? How many more people have unfortunately died from it? What is the city doing to prepare? If they saying we haven't reached our peak yet, what are they doing to prepare for that? Things like that, right? What are they doing to protect our, firefighters? So that's typically a day. You start the meeting, you get your assignment, and then it's just, you make the story. It's kind of like free range, right? It's your story to do with what you got to. If you need, you have and typically you usually call the same people if it's certain official stories or whatever. But they'll tell you what show you in. They'll tell you what they want you to do, and it's up to you to make the calls or to reach out to somebody or to, if you need help, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of this person. Can somebody send me a contact for this person? Reaching out, setting up interviews. It's kind of changed for me a little bit because like our station is big on safety and taking care of us. So we we have certain things that we can and can't do. We can't interview. We can't do any more in-person interviews. So everything has to be Skype or FaceTime, which makes my job a little bit harder, right? Sometimes, depending on what the story is. And then we can't go into buildings. We can't go into homes. We can't go into areas that are closed off, which makes my job harder because you got to think video wise, right? That limits what you can get on the video end of it. So it's just taking all of that and adjusting to the different hits and things that come with it. But my life has gotten crazier, but this is what I signed up for, right? We have an important job right now to put out information and to keep people informed and to keep people from panicking, right? And so that the only way people won't panic is if they know what's going on, and which is why in the beginning you had all these people in these stores and oh, let's get here, because it was the fear of not knowing. We don't know what's going on because officials weren't telling us anything, so then in return we couldn't tell people anything. So it's just about getting that information out basically, but that's kind of how everything's changed. It just made it more, this whole transition is showing how, in many aspects, not just journalism, but it's showing how much life can go on without needing to be in person, right? And I feel like in a lot of cases, the news can possibly change, after this, because you have anchors now who are at home, doing a newscast, reporters now who are going to their meeting online and then going during their, stories and then going home, doing the live shots, and that's it. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
I want to reserve the final question for Dr. Blackwell before we sign out. Dr. Blackwell, do you have anything you'd like to add or a question you'd like to ask before we wrap up?
Yeah, give me 1 second because I was jotting some stuff down. Let me pull it up. I'm doing.
Well, tell you what, while you're formulating that, I'll run the video real quick from the Black News Channel, and that'll give you like 30 seconds to kind of, if that works for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. Okay, so just to kind of return back to the original attempt to share what the Black News Channel wants us to do, I'm going to go ahead and run this promo while Dr. Blackwell formulates his question. Here we go.
The spread of coronavirus has caused the cancellation or postponement of many college graduation ceremonies, but we here at HBCU this week want to celebrate with you anyway. Send us pictures and videos of you in your cap and gown with the following information: your major, which school you attended, and any plans for after graduation. Make sure you include the subject line HBCU Spring Ceremony to the address right there on your screen. It'll be included on our May 4th episode.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, so there you go.
So my question is this, Jordan. You talked earlier about having to pitch, multiple story ideas every day. I know that right now everything is coronavirus, but when we move away from this and move kind of back to things that are more normal, how do you come up with ideas every day, especially on a slow news day? How do you find stories to pitch? And what's it look like if you don't have an idea? How does that affect your job?
Okay, so what I would say is, one, typically people are understanding, right? We understand that you may not have something every day, there's some days I've gone and I'm like, look, guys, I've tried to set up some things. Nothing is working. I don't, do what ideas y'all have, right? And that's fine. Every now and again, that's fine. Now, if you're doing that 2-3 days a week, that's a problem. But typically the way, I mean, there's so many different ways. I feel like that's something that, a lot of people, especially in the beginning, overthink. One way I do is Facebook, social media, going to Facebook and, adding yourself in these different community pages and crime watch pages, so-and-so, Deerfield Neighborhood Crime Watch, right? And going through and seeing what people are talking about. What are people, complaining about? People are always complaining about something, that my neighbor's grass is too high, just people are always complaining about stuff. So going through and filtering out, okay, that's a great way to find, stories for me. Newspapers, a lot of people, news, unfortunately the newspaper industry isn't what it was before. So a lot of those stories that get, put into these papers don't necessarily get the type of platform that they should. And a lot of them are really great stories. So being able to look at local newspapers and see, what they might have done that you can maybe turn into a television story, or that would be great for a TV story, is a great place to look as well. Another thing is national news, right? Knowing what's going on nationally, paying attention to CNN, ABC, Washington Post, New York Times, seeing what's going on in the world and finding a way to localize it in your community, right? Coronavirus, like say, for instance, in the beginning, coronavirus was a big thing, before it got big, but it was like, oh my gosh, coronavirus. Well, not necessarily talking about coronavirus, but actually kind of doing some digging and finding somebody who is affected by coronavirus in your community, right? That's a story for your community. Word of mouth. When you go out to these different stories and you meet people, one thing I tell people all the time, fortunately, we get work phones, and then we also have our personal phones. But yeah, I give everybody my work phone number, or if I have a card, I give them my card, and I say, hey, no matter what story I'm on, hey, here's my number. This is my personal number. Feel free to reach out. Let me know if you have any ideas, anything you may hear about, good or bad, and make sure you let people know, we want the good and the bad, anything that's positive, anything that you feel like somebody needs help, reach out, let me know, word of mouth, meeting people, going out and actually, getting involved with the community is one thing I'm working to do a better job of, because you can just be at volunteering and, talking, just making conversation with somebody, and, you can get story ideas that way. So it's a constant, it's a constant battle every day. Some days are easier than others, but if you are constantly just looking and looking at different one more thing too, I want to say something else that you can do, looking at other stations, right? Seeing what's, every now and again, I'll look and see what ABC in Houston is doing. I'll see what WFA in Dallas is doing. I'll see what they're doing in Atlanta. I'll see what they're doing in New York. And in many of those cases, people do stories that are great stories that may not have been told in your community that you can localize for where you are. So those are just a few ways. And as as you all get in the industry and start your careers and get more experience, you all will find out different tricks and ways that work for you all that comes with getting story ideas or finding
Awesome.
things to talk about.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jordan. And thank you for your time today. Thank you so much for the nuggets you've given us and for the inspiration. I know the students are feeling, certainly Dr. Blackwell and myself are just kind of, just brains are just popping with ideas to kind of continue to fill in that gap between, preparing our students via the classroom and the lab experience and the TV studio, and training them, and going out and finding those stories and creating packages to the internship and then ultimately the workforce. I mean, I think you have definitely given us a great talk today and a lot to take away, and certainly depicting a wonderfully, wonderfully productive Panther. This afternoon, everyone, we have another PV alum, also from the Mass Comm program at Prairie View, Lamaya Harvell, who is a personal friend of Jordan's. Those two, I just really enjoyed watching them grow and kind of, grow into their voice and determine their own destiny. And so, come back at 2:30. Jordan, thank you again so much for being here today. I'm going to be hitting you up again fairly soon, and really call on you to help mentor more of our students.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was gonna say, man. Anybody who's listening, watching, if y'all have questions about anything, let me know. Reach out. Like, I'm accessible, right? I'm accessible. Shoot me a DM, right? Shoot me a message. Shoot me an IG message. Like, reach out and say, hey, I'm so and so. This is what I need help on, and to the best of my ability, I will try. I will try my best to help out as many people as I can, because I understand and I know what it's like to be on the other end, or to be, anxious and not knowing. So any way that I can help any of you, in the future, this shouldn't be the last time that you all hear from me, right? And like I tell Tatiana or anybody else that, I help out throughout the time. If I don't get right back with you, if I say I'm gonna do this, like, follow up, hit me up, let me know. Hey, you said we were gonna meet today. Hit me up early in the day. Hey, you said we was gonna meet today at 5. I know it's 12, but are we still good? That way it's on my mind. That way I'm constantly, engaged, because I'm just so scatterbrained, right? I just have so much going on, and I'm here, I'm there, I'm just everywhere. So hit me up though, for real.
So I'm putting together a Professor TDV lecture series syllabus, where I am compiling, I'm giving each speaker a single page in this PDF binder, basically, and their contact information will be included in that PDF. And at the end of the series, I will give that to you, as well as via the digital flyers that we have, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter. You are able to access them right away via those social media platforms. Jordan, thank you again, brother. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so incredibly proud of you. And we'll talk again soon. All right, y'all. Come back at 2:30. Talk to Lamaya.
Yeah, no, she's great.